Miller!
Snake, the PMC soldiers are using ID guns.
ID guns?
See how the word locked appears in the weapon list?
Yeah.
ID guns are equipped with locks. As long as the lock is engaged, you can't pull the trigger.
Any suggestions?
The locks are only disengaged when they recognize the nanomachine ID inside a soldier's body.
Development complete. Enemy presence detected. The map has been updated.
Anyone not possessing nanomachines keyed to the system, or anyone who's keyed but not authorized to use that weapon, won't be able to pass the ID gun's verification process.
So I can't use PMC guns?
I'm afraid not. You're not registered with the system. And it's not just weapons either. Vehicles, buildings, everything used for military purposes is secured with this ID control system. Without the proper IDs, it's impossible for PMCs or state armies to fight. Think of it as a soldier's dog tag, only at the nano level.
So, I shouldn't even bother picking up ID guns.
For now, at least. But they might come in handy later on. Snake, there are more differences between the militia and the PMCs than you may think. For one thing, the PMCs are flush with cash, so they usually have the latest gear.
Looks that way. Weapon systems, combat suits, tactical vests, communications equipment. All the latest toys.
On top of that, they're running on the SOP system, which keeps them in constant contact with each other during battle. The militia, on the other hand, are little more than amateurs. Most haven't even had basic combat training. And their equipment is nothing to brag about either. They're just barely scraping by.
Their weapons don't seem to be controlled by the system. The ones I picked up work for me just fine.
Right. But the PMC's weapons won't. You can steal their guns, but they'll most likely be locked and unusable. Remember that. Octocamo is a newly developed camouflage technology that's capable of almost exactly mimicking the appearance of objects and surfaces. It's easy to use, too. All you have to do is press up against a wall or object, or lie flat on the ground while wearing the suit. It can be a powerful tool if you use it right. So tell me, how does it feel?
Not as itchy as I'd have thought.
That suit can mimic the color, pattern, and even the surface texture of walls and floors. Kinda like procuring your own camo on site, right?
I do just fine with the regular stuff. I'm not a chameleon.
You've got it all wrong. We're not talking about lizards. This is octocamo. In other words, it's based on the camouflage capabilities of the octopus. Octopus are sometimes called ninja of the sea. They fool their enemies by mimicking not just the color of their surroundings, but also the shape of the terrain. That suit takes its cue from defensive deception found in nature. Besides, you may not have known this, but there is a snake that can change its body color too. It's called the Capuas mud snake. It's a poisonous reptile indigenous to the Capuas River on the island of Borneo. Its coloring is normally a reddish-brown, but sometimes turns to white. So, snakes can sport disguises too.
Hey, what happened to stealth camo? You used to wear it all the time.
All that does is create an optical illusion. It's no use against Gecko with their infrared sensors. Octocamo, on the other hand, has micro-Peltier arrays that regulate the absorption and release of heat, harmonizing the wearer's body heat with any background IR radiation. Which means it can offer you at least some camouflage protection against enemy infrared sensors. With so many unmanned weapons in the field these days, I'd expect it to outperform the old stealth camo. But if you start walking or running, or making a lot of noise, you'll risk getting spotted by the enemy. And get this, the suit also reduces the weight load on your body and amplifies muscle power. The inside lining sends a weak electric current through your body that stimulates phospholipid production inside your cells, improving circulation. That should make your life gauge recover more rapidly when you're hurt. In other words, Snake, it's a bit of a crutch.
You can cut the senior citizen crap, Otacon. Otacon, seriously, what's with all these ads?
Oh, you mean Battlefield ads?
Battlefield ads? Is that what they're called?
On the street, anyway. It's what people are calling any ad having to do with the war economy. Privatizing the military has inevitably created intense competition for market share among PMCs and defense industries. Everybody wants to expand their market, get a bigger piece of the pie. So they're churning out truckloads of ads, exactly like the ones we see every day.
But war's not something you can just write off.
It may seem that way, but the war economy is an enormous driving force in the world today. There are people whose livelihoods depend on those ads. Same goes for internet ads, TV commercials.
The world's gone mad, and us with it.
I know, but that's reality. How you liking that iPod, Snake? They say certain types of music can help relieve stress. If you're feeling run down, why not take a break? Listen to a few tunes.
Give it up, ballsy balls.
The militia fighting against praying mantis are mercenaries belonging to a small-scale local PMC. Most of them are from around here, but it was more than ethnic ties that motivated them to pick up their guns. The country suffers from chronic high unemployment. There are lots of households just barely scraping by. Kids that grow up in that environment don't have the chance to get a decent education.
Post captured.
And there aren't enough opportunities for them to go abroad and find work either. PMCs are one of the few options they have to earn a living.
And for that, they go out and risk their necks.
It's not a respectable trade by any measure. Still, for some reason, I can't bring myself to condemn them for it. It's complicated, you know? During the Cold War, this region was the site of irregular proxy wars fought between the two superpowers. Now that it's over, the ethnic conflicts that were simmering beneath the surface have erupted into full-scale civil wars. Even today, the political situation is fragile. The land and its people have been ravaged and exhausted by years of constant warfare. With food scarce and
Hey, what's up guys? It's Scarce here.
the economy near collapse, the country's barely being kept afloat by aid from developed
Enemy
nations.
presence detected.
And despite
The
all
map
that,
has been
the
updated.
current regime is still hiring PMCs to put down the anti-government militia, or terrorists as they call them. I know security's a big issue, but come on.
If you've got the money to buy bullets, you should be using it to buy your people bread.
That's how a lot of people would put it, yes.
Makes sense to me.
Мирных жителей трогать нельзя. Если среди них будут жертвы, это только подольет масло в огонь. Если командир прикажет мне убить гражданского, я убью командира. Я к этому готов. Если вы тоже. Все ясно?
Is that him?
Time paradox!
Look at their faces so we can ID the target. There, that's the target. Boss,
Time
it
paradox!
would be a waste to kill him. But putting him to sleep doesn't count as eliminating him. Neither
Time
does knocking him
paradox!
out.
Hey, Snake, since when did you learn how to use CQC?
I got the training back when I was in Foxhound, but I never used it in actual combat.
You had those skills all this time and never used them? Why?
The man who taught me was my former commander in Foxhound.
Big Boss?
Never felt right using a technique learned from a man who betrayed his unit. Thinking back, CQC as a concept was way ahead of its time. Nobody was using it yet. Not the Green Berets, or the SEALs, or the CIA paramilitaries.
And then earlier this year, the Pentagon declassifies Big Boss's file for some reason. All of a sudden, his story is the stuff of pop culture. Books, magazines, the net. And now people are taking another look at CQC.
The war criminal, reinvented as a hero.
Big Boss's exploits as a Cold War secret agent back in the 60s have made him a legend.
Less people know about the truth, more they can fantasize.
Is that why you finally decided to use CQC? Because it's no longer just his anymore?
The CQC soldiers use nowadays is a pale imitation. They're learning from reading about it. I learned through doing, and there's a world of difference.
Then you want to teach them the real thing. The way you learned from your Big Boss.
That's not it either. Some things aren't meant to be passed down to future generations. When some guy comes at me using that cookie-cutter imitation of CQC, my body just reacts naturally, that's all.
Ah, I get it. An eye for an eye. Well, maybe not quite. I reckon they'd lose more than just an eye when going up against you.
Departing!
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Mission complete, and how? They're gonna tell stories about this one, boss.
Time paradox!
Like this video, or I will time paradox you.
Time paradox!
What a beautiful body you have. Like a newborn baby.
Stop.